Now what about the state of our towers? I'm going to want to make sure that I have two more buttons just below my wave button, which are going to be toggling back and forth between the two different kinds of towers. Let's go ahead and set up their X, Y, width, and height up here. Much like the wave button, I'm going to do a tower 1 button, X. Oh, so this is also going to be 520, because I'm just going to keep them in line. This is going to be, this is 10 down plus 60, and I want to make it another 10 down, so wave button Y is going to be 80. Wave button. That's this one. Tower 1 button. I think the width and height will be okay the same though. Wave button. Tower 1 button width equals 80. Tower 1 button, hey, I got it that time. Height equals 60. You know what? Tower 2 is going to be the same thing, except the Y position is going to change. Let's just do that now. So this is going to be another 60 down plus 10, so 150. And I should make sure these are all tower 2s. Okay, so right after I make my wave button, let's do the tower button. This is going to be a fill. Oh, I need to make a color. I'll get to that in a sec. Tower 1 color. And much like this rectangle and these things here, I'm going to take the same idea. For those of you who don't know, if you hold down Shift and Tab, it back tabs things, which is kind of cool. I do that all the time. So I have my tower. This will be tower 1. Tower 1. Tower 1. Tower 1. Then black. This will be my tower 1 button Y. Tower 1 button X. And what am I going to draw here? Well, it's going to be the cost of creating a tower 1. I might want to make this a variable too, now that I think about that. So that up above I can change the cost. This will allow me to balance my game more easily later on. So I need a tower 1 color and a tower 1 cost. Here's my colors. I should probably put whatever my default color is going to be too for my towers. So let's create that now. Let's see, maybe kind of a grayish color. So that's where all the values are the same. Tower 1 color is going to be maybe something like a cyan color. So when you set green and blue together, that'll give you a cyan color. And eventually I'll need a tower 2 colors. So the tower 2 color is going to be, let's do more of a royal blue. More in the blue range, less in the red range. That should allow me to do the tower 1 object. Except I need the tower 1 cost. I didn't do that. So an int tower 1 cost. I think I'm going to make this 10 initially, and while I'm here, let's also create a tower 2 cost equal to 20. All right. Next, let's do the tower 2 button. I think it's going to be exactly the same idea, except everything that's a 1 is going to be a 2. So tower 2, watch out for copy and paste, make sure you get all of them. I have made many, many, many copy and paste errors. I think that is all of them. Cool. So now we need to take a look at how are we going to keep track of state. How do we know which one we last clicked on, which of those two towers? I'm going to create another variable here, which I'm going to call tower state. And I'm going to use that to keep track of the toggle of, is it a tower 1, is it a tower 2, is it no tower, which of these things is it going to be? And now that I think about it, let's go ahead and assign those values actual words that make a little more sense. So when you use the keyword final, it basically makes it a constant. It means you can't change the value. And it may seem weird, making a variable, which you cannot ever change again. The purpose of that is that if you're encoding some sort of value, if I want to say no tower is a 0, if I go through my code and I'm looking at my state is 0 or my state is 3 or 2, sometimes it's hard to keep track of what those numbers really mean. But if you say your state is tower 1 or your state is no tower, it's a lot clearer in your code which of those things is a 1 or a 0 or a 2. So whenever you use something where you're keeping track of state in an array or in a variable, often you want to create corresponding values that are constants that represent those states. So here I could say tower 1, and that makes a lot more sense than, hey, tower state is a 1, whatever that is. Some languages will let you use something called an enum, which is a similar idea, but this is a pretty simple technique that most programming languages will let you use. So I'm going to need to keep track of what the state is as well in some sort of visual format. So I'm going to create a state button. Yeah, it's not really a button, but we'll call it that. I'll make it a little narrower just to make it clear that it's not the same as some of the other buttons. It's going to be another 60 down plus another 10, so 300. The width is only going to be 60 to make it a little narrower. And why don't I make it a little shorter as well? All right, down in our tower coding area. So if the tower state is tower 1, could have been a 1, means the same thing. I'm going to fill using tower 1's color. Otherwise, if the tower state is tower 2, fill with tower 1 color. 2 color. That's the whole reason we're doing this. And then after that, we'll actually draw the rectangle that represents this thing. State button X, state button Y, state button width, state button height. So since we started on that color, there we go. That was a little low. This should be 220, not 300. There we go. And that thing is going to be the current state. I think I'm going to break this into 2 sections. A little ways in from the button edge. A little ways down. The reason that it's 20 down, by the way, is that for whatever reason, text always draws based on the lower left because font sizes vary and it always draws upwards from the bottom of a line. So I have to move it down a bit from the lower left of the text and then consider that based on where the box is. And then the tower is going to be in the same place on here, but it's going to be much further down on this. Let's see, maybe another 15 pixels? It probably depends on which font you use. I have a spare parenthesis there. That needs to be further down. Maybe 35. That makes more sense. There we go. And maybe I want this to be no tower to begin with. So if I do make this no tower, I better make sure that I include that down here. So if the tower state is no tower, then the fill will be default tower color.